I thought I'd do a quick video to go through Vness and what Vness is about, and just to summarize what we're trying to do in the validation study. So it's a Saturday. I'm here doing some NHS waiting list initiative cases. I thought between the cases would be the best time to do this. Now, I don't think you need any convincing that the classification systems and the staging systems for endometriosis are not currently fit for purpose, most of them at least, and that we need something better. There are plenty of staging systems around. The American system, the ASRM system, really was an adhesion-based system. They didn't even take into account the deep infiltrative endometriosis. It wasn't really a thing at the time, and stage 4 really can be anything like a half an hour operation to a 6-hour operation. So that really hasn't done anything for us, and is not really an appropriate system to use. NZN has done a really good job in taking into account deep infiltrative endometriosis, but a lot of people will find it very difficult to use, and in my opinion it has a big problem, and I've spoken to Jörg Eckstein in length about this, but it's his baby, and he disagrees with me on that. That size really is a almost irrelevant factor when it comes to endometriosis. It's much easier to do an operation for a 12 centimeter endometrioma that is not particularly stuck to the side wall than it is to do a 1 centimeter endometrioma that is invading into the ureter. The idea of Vness, which is Visual Numeric Endometriosis Scoring System, VNESS, started in 2015. I was going to Iran a few times a year. We were dealing with a large volume of difficult endometriosis cases, and I felt that it's not fair that I have no way of showing the complexity of my caseload, and I'm still comparing my complications against someone with a lot less complex caseload, which is also stage 4. So we tried different techniques, and we came up with Vness in 2016. I will take you through what it is about. Basically, the idea is that what's important is the depth of disease, is the depth of invasion of endometriosis that really matters, both for the surgeon. It probably is the one that is probably most relevant to the complications that you may get, and I think it's the most useful for benchmarking. But another thing that we also did when we were designing this was we wanted it to be visual. So the system, Vness, has the ability that when you look at those series of numbers, it's as if you're looking at a picture, a laparoscopic image. You see from left to right, and also in the middle, what's going on. It's like a chart. It's like a drawing of the severity of disease in different compartments. I will go into the details of that. So let me perhaps do the quick presentation. Yes. So what do we need a classification system for? Of course, for your research, for your audit, benchmarking. I think the BSG Endo Center project is an excellent example where having some system that we can actually compare like with like is going to be very useful. But it needs to be simple, and in my opinion, it would be good if it can also facilitate the communication between surgeons. These are the various staging systems that are present. This is the Enzian system that you will be familiar with. I understand that there is some changes coming up. I'll go into this a little bit later about the consensus and how important it was in the latest version of Vness. I believe that it has been a challenge. Research into endometriosis and benchmarking has been challenged because when we say certain words, we mean different things. So, for example, when we say shave, different people mean different things by shave. To some people, a disc may be a shave gone wrong, made a hole, sutured it, you call it a shave. To others, it may be a transanal stapler disc. Sorry, I said shave earlier. Disc. So I think it's important that we follow international consensus, even if we don't agree with all the points. So yes, that's another point that I was trying to make, that the issue with the current staging systems is also the fact that they are trying too hard to correlate with symptoms or with outcome or with anything really. I believe with endometriosis, you really shouldn't aim for that, because endometriosis is cleverer than that. It just doesn't play by those rules. You can have very severe disease and no symptoms, and you can have very little disease and a lot of symptoms. And that was part of my frustration. So when we looked at the first year of our workload in Iran, we were getting very complex patients, but staging was difficult. So Vness is a bit like PopQ, if you like. All it does, it describes how deep the disease goes in various parts of the pelvis. I wrote an editorial on this in 2016, and it was picked up by the media and the news as well. But then we did a validation study. We had a 63 video that we, Angry Birds too. We edited these videos, and then 5 observers looked at these videos and used Vness. But they used the earlier version of Vness, which we have now changed. And they showed very good inter-rater reliability. I decided not to publish this data for various reasons. Part of it was because I knew that we were going to modify this. Another part was that there was a problem with the data. 2 of the observers had almost identical results, and so we decided in the end that maybe we would want to rerun this and replicate it before publication, and I'm glad we did, because now we have a better system, in my opinion. So this is what Vness is. So it basically looks at the pelvis, and it has got 9 compartments in the pelvis. You start from the left, go all the way to the right, and you have 3 in the middle, 3 on the left, 3 on the right. So you have 9 numbers. Each number can be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 0 being no endometriosis, 6 being a transmural full thickness invasion of the disease into surrounding structures. I will show you the compartments and exactly what I mean by 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I will tell you about the study. So here are the compartments. Left adnexal, left pelvic side wall, left uterosacral ligament, that's the left side, and then we have uterovesical fold, vagina, and rectum. So the vagina is new because in the old system, old Vness, we had only pouch of Douglas. But we were reminded that there are lots of cases that you may have the vagina and the rectovaginal septum involved, even full thickness involvement, without having the same sort of invasion into the rectum, and it was important to separate these two. And then we go to the right uterosacral and all the rest of it. So 1 is superficial disease, 2 is DIE, that is not adherent to the surrounding structures. So for example, an endometrioma is a DIE. If you have a free endometrioma, which is not very common, but that would be a 2. 3 is loosely adherent, 4 is densely adherent but is not invading into it. 5 is invading but only partial thickness into the muscularis, and 6 is full thickness. And it looks something like this. 10260123 is also can be written like the bottom of the screen, and that means that on the left you had a superficial disease on the left ovary. Pelvic sidewall was fine. Then you had a DIE on uterosacral ligament, but it wasn't particularly stuck to anything. You had a full thickness bladder nodule, and that's an important point because things like BSG database or even Enzian, if you have a bladder endometriosis, you need to then write it separately as a B, sorry. Vagina was fine, and you had only superficial endometriosis on the rectum, and then so on to the right. Okay, so the main idea is that we get rid of size, because nobody actually measures during an operation. And you will get into the situation where people, round things up, or, we don't use a tape measure during an operation. Then you may argue, that's what York says, that, okay, imaging can help, but we don't want to mix imaging with surgery. This system, Vness, is basically just look at it like a laparoscopic picture. You have just done an operation and you are describing how deep you thought the disease had gone into the surrounding structures. It may not be in agreement with imaging, in agreement with histology. That is your surgical assessment at the time of your surgery, at the end of the surgery. So, I believe Vness has the advantage of being simple to understand and remember, being visual, having the laterality, so knowing that there was something on the right and not on the left. When you see your patient back, looking at the Vness should be like looking at the laparoscopic image, maybe even better, because you're talking about the depth of disease and how involved that compartment was. I believe it can be very useful in benchmarking, and particularly when it comes to projects like the BSGE endocenter projects. It will make things a lot cleaner. Currently we are talking about opening pararectal space, but we all know that you open pararectal space in simple cases as well as very big cases. So that doesn't really work, at least in my opinion. I believe it has legs, and what we are trying to do now is to do a big validation study. I've already had around 45 interested people who want to be scorers, but I want to reach out to the endometriosis centers and the endocenter leads and perhaps even their trainees. We are at the final stages of producing the video clip. It's something around an hour and a half long, which has more than 200 little clips of 15 seconds that just concentrates on one compartment of the pelvis. And the various scorers need to look at that compartment and score, and then we're going to look at inter-rater reliability of the system. And by doing, and we are hoping to get this published definitely in 2020, if not in the next 3 months or so. We've done the protocol. We are going through the ethics committee, although this is not really going to require one, but we're going to do that because we are going to seek publication in a high impact journal. Yeah, that's basically the gist of what Vness is all about.